The ship moved slowly through the dark space. Admiral Park Tay stood near the window and watched the stars pass by. He had fought many battles in his 60 years of life. He had seen friends die. He had seen cities burn. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. Today, humanity would meet aliens for the first time. The flagship Horizon carried 300 of Earth's best people. Scientists, soldiers, diplomats, and engineers. They had traveled for 2 months to reach this place. The Eternal Ring, a space station so large that it made Earth's moon look small. 47 alien species lived and worked here. They had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years, and humanity wanted to join them. Dr. Yuna Kong walked up to the Admiral. She was the ship's language expert. For the past 2 years, she had studied every alien signal they had ever received. She knew more about alien cultures than anyone else on Earth. "Are you nervous?" she asked. Park Tay did not turn from the window. "I am old, Doctor. Old men do not get nervous. We get tired." Yuna smiled. She understood. The Admiral had given his whole life to protect Earth. Now he had to protect it in a different way. With words instead of weapons. Captain Li Wu's voice came through the speakers. "Admiral, we are approaching the station. They are asking us to dock at Port 17. "Take us in, Captain," Park Tay replied. The Horizon moved toward the massive station. As they got closer, Yuna could see thousands of ships of all sizes. Some were beautiful, made of smooth silver metal. Others were ugly and covered with weapons. None of them looked like human ships. They docked without any problems. The doors opened, and a group of aliens waited for them. They were tall creatures with blue skin and forearms. Their eyes were completely black, and they wore long white robes. "I am Velori," the tallest one said. His voice was strange, like 2 people speaking at once. "We are the Galactic Council's welcoming committee. You will follow us." No greeting, no handshake, no smile. Just an order. Park Tay looked at Yuna. She gave a small nod. They had expected this. Humans were new here. They had to prove themselves. The delegation followed the Velori through long hallways. The station was beautiful but cold. Everything was made of white stone and silver metal. Other aliens stopped to watch them pass. Some pointed. Some whispered. Some laughed. Yuna recorded everything with a small device hidden in her uniform. Earth needed to know what they were dealing with. They finally reached a huge room. It was round, with seats rising up on all sides like a stadium. Hundreds of aliens filled the seats. At the center was a platform where humans were told to stand. High Arbiter Molvar sat on the highest seat. He was a Velori, but older and larger than the others. His skin was darker blue, almost purple. He wore a golden crown that wrapped around his head like a snake. "So," Molvar said, his voice echoing through the room, "these are the humans." Laughter spread through the crowd. It was not friendly laughter. It was the laughter of people looking at something small and weak. Admiral Park Tay stepped forward. "I am Admiral Park Tay of the United Earth Government. We come in peace. We wish to join the Galactic Council and share in the knowledge and friendship of all species." More laughter. Molvar raised one of his 4 hands, and the room became quiet. "You wish to join us? You, whose species discovered fire only moments ago. You, who still die after 80 rotations around your little star. You, whose ships move slower than our children's toys." The aliens laughed again. Some clapped. Some made sounds that Yuna could not understand, but knew were insults. "We have achieved interstellar travel," Park Tay said calmly. "We have unified our planet. You have done what every species does eventually," Molvar interrupted. "You learn to walk. Should we celebrate every infant that takes its first steps? Admiral Park Tae's hands became fists at his sides, but his face remained calm. Yuna watched him carefully. She had seen that look before. It was the look of a man counting his enemies. We ask only for a chance, Park Tae said. A chance to prove ourselves. Mulvar leaned forward. His black eyes stared at the Admiral like he was looking at an insect. Prove yourselves? To us? Do you know how long the Valori Empire has existed? 8,000 years. Do you know how many wars we have won? More than your species has had generations. You are children. Loud, foolish children with dreams too big for your small minds. The room erupted in laughter and cheers. Aliens stamped their feet. They made sounds of approval. Park Tae said nothing. He simply stood there, his back straight, his eyes never leaving Mulvar's face. The High Arbiter waved his hand. Your request for membership is denied. Return to your little planet. Come back in 1,000 cycles, when you have evolved enough to matter. Perhaps then you will be worthy of cleaning our floors. The insult hit like a physical blow. Yuna saw several human officers step forward in anger, but Park Tae raised his hand to stop them. Is that your final word? The Admiral asked quietly. It is, Mulvar said. Now leave. The Galactic Council has important matters to discuss. Matters that insects cannot understand. The walk back to the horizon was silent. The same aliens who had watched them arrive now watched them leave. The laughter followed them through every hallway. The pointing. The whispers. The mockery. When they finally reached the ship, Captain Li Wu was waiting at the door. Admiral, what happened? What did they say? Park Tae walked past him without a word. Yuna stopped. They laughed at us, she said. They called us insects. They told us to come back in 1,000 years. Li Wu's face turned red with anger. How dare they? We came in peace. Captain, Yuna interrupted. I recorded everything. Every word. Every laugh. Every insult. She looked toward the Admiral's quarters. He will not forget this. None of us will. The horizon undocked and began its long journey back to Earth. In his quarters, Admiral Park Tae sat alone in the darkness. He did not sleep. He did not eat. He simply sat and thought about every laugh, every insult, every mocking smile. 3 weeks later, he stood before the United Earth Parliament. The room was full of the most powerful people on the planet. Presidents, generals, scientists, and leaders from every nation watched him. He told them everything. He showed them Yuna's recordings. He let them hear the laughter. He let them see the mockery. When he finished, the room was completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Finally, Park Tae looked at the camera that broadcast to every screen on Earth. They laughed at us, he said, his voice cold and hard. They will learn not to. 3 years passed. The galaxy forgot about humanity. The Galactic Council continued its meetings. The Valori Empire expanded its borders. The Kreth Dominion conquered smaller species. Life went on as it had for thousands of years. On Earth, things were different. General Shin Dae stood in an underground base that officially did not exist. It was built 5 kilometers below the mountains of Korea. Only 200 people in the entire world knew about it. And what they were building would change everything. How long until Project Prometheus is complete? He asked. Engineer Borahan looked up from her computer. She had not slept in 3 days. Dark circles surrounded her eyes, but her smile was wide. 2 more weeks, General. 2 more weeks, and we will have weapons that even the Valori have never imagined. Shin Dae nodded. For 3 years, humanity had worked in secret. Every scientist, every engineer, every resource had been focused on one goal. Not peace, Not diplomacy, preparation. The galaxy had laughed at human technology. So humanity had stolen alien technology. They captured signals. They recovered crashed ships. They studied everything. And then they did what humans do best. They improved it. In another part of the base, Lieutenant Mina Cho trained her soldiers. They called themselves the Ghost Division. 50 of the deadliest fighters Earth had ever produced. They could kill silently, move invisibly, and survive anywhere. Mina herself had once spent 3 weeks in enemy territory with no food, no water, and no weapons. She came back with the enemy commander's head. Again, she ordered, watching her soldiers practice close combat. She received a message on her wrist device. It was from Admiral Park Tae. He wanted to see her immediately. She left her soldiers and took a transport to the command center. Park Tae had aged in the past 3 years. His hair was now completely white, but his eyes burned with the same cold fire they had on the day he returned from the Eternal Ring. "Lieutenant," he said, "I have a mission for you." Before he could explain, alarms began to sound throughout the base. Red lights flashed. Screens everywhere showed the same message. Emergency broadcast all channels. A face appeared on the main screen. It was not human. It was a Kreth. The Kreth looked like large lizards that walked on 2 legs. They had green scales, yellow eyes, and mouths full of sharp teeth. This one wore the armor of a military commander. "I am Lord Thren of the Kreth Dominion," the creature said. 3 hours ago, my fleet arrived at the human colony called New Bizan. The colonists refused to pay tribute to the Dominion. They claimed they were under the protection of something called the United Earth Government. Lord Thren smiled, showing all his teeth. "We taught them the truth. There is no protection. There is no Earth Government. There is only the Dominion, and there is death. 40,000 humans died today. Consider this a lesson. Know your P. Lace insects, or we will teach you again." The broadcast ended. The room was silent. General Shinde's hands shook with anger. Engineer Borahan covered her mouth in horror. Soldiers and scientists alike stood frozen, unable to believe what they had just heard. 40,000 people dead, murdered, for refusing to bow. Admiral Park Tae's face showed no emotion. He simply stared at the empty screen for a long moment. Then he spoke. "Call an emergency meeting of the Earth Council." Now, 2 hours later, every leader on Earth gathered in the Global Assembly Hall. Some appeared in person. Others joined through video. All of them had seen the broadcast. All of them had the same question. What would humanity do? Some called for diplomatic protest. They wanted to contact the Galactic Council and demand justice. Others wanted to hide, to build defenses, to hope the Kreth would leave them alone. A few suggested surrender. Admiral Park Tae listened to all of them. Then he stood. "For 3 years, I have been silent," he said. "For 3 years, I have let the galaxy believe we accepted our humiliation. But we did not accept it. We prepared." He pressed a button, and images appeared on every screen. Weapons, ships, soldiers, technology that made the old human military look like toys. This is Project Prometheus. For 3 years, we have built a military force unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. We have new ships that can appear anywhere in seconds. We have weapons that can destroy entire fleets. We have soldiers trained to fight gods. The room went completely silent. The Kreth killed 40,000 of our people. They called it pest control. They called it a lesson. Park Tae's voice grew harder. "I say we teach them a lesson of our own. I say we show them what happens when you laugh at humanity. I say we go to war." The assembly exploded with voices. Arguments filled the air. Fear clashed with anger. But slowly, vote by vote, the decision was made. The United Earth government officially declared war on the Kreth Dominion. The declaration was broadcast across the galaxy. Every species received it. Every planet heard it. And on the Eternal Ring, High Arbiter Molvar watched the message with a smile on his face. "How adorable," he said to his advisors. "The insects think they can sting." His advisors laughed. They made jokes about human ships and human weapons. They placed bets on how many days humanity would survive. The shortest bet was 3 days. The longest was 2 weeks. Far across the galaxy, Lieutenant Mina Cho received her orders. She would lead the first strike. Ghost Division would hit the Kreth where they least expected it. Not with warships, not with bombs, but with shadows and silence. She gathered her 50 soldiers in the transport bay. They wore black armor that bent light around them, making them nearly invisible. They carried weapons that made no sound. They were ghosts. "The Kreth think we are insects," Mina said. "Let us show them that even insects can bring down giants. Our mission is simple. Infiltrate Kreth Prime, disable their defense network, and disappear before they know we were ever there." One of her soldiers raised his hand. "What if they catch us, Lieutenant?" Mina smiled coldly. "They will not catch us. We are ghosts. We are shadows. We are the beginning of their nightmares." The transport launched into space. Behind them, the largest military fleet in human history prepared to follow. Hundreds of ships, thousands of soldiers, and technology that would make the galaxy question everything they thought they knew about humanity. In his command ship, Admiral Park Tae watched the fleet assemble. General Shin Dae stood beside him. "Are we really doing this?" The general asked. "Going to war with an empire that has existed for thousands of years?" Park Tae did not look away from the window. "They laughed at us, Dae. They murdered our people. They called us insects." He turned to face his old friend. "I am going to make them remember that name. Because when this is over, they will fear even the smallest insect. They will fear the sound of human footsteps. They will fear the sight of human ships. And they will never, ever laugh at us again." The fleet moved into position. The war had begun. The galaxy expected a quick war. The Kreth Dominion had conquered hundreds of species. Their fleet numbered in the tens of thousands. Their soldiers were brutal and experienced. Against them stood humanity, a species that had discovered space travel less than a century ago. Everyone expected the humans to die quickly. They were wrong. Lieutenant Mina Cho and her Ghost Division reached Kreth Prime in 3 days. They slipped past patrol ships like shadows through darkness. They landed on the planet's surface in the middle of the night, in a forest 5 kilometers from the main defense. Command Center. 50 ghosts moved through the trees without making a sound. The Kreth had built their defense network to stop fleets. Massive cannons, energy shields, thousands of automated weapons. It had never failed in 2,000 years of war. That it was not built to stop 50 humans crawling through ventilation shafts. Mina led her team through the underground tunnels beneath the command center. They avoided patrols by seconds. They disabled sensors with devices that Bora Han had designed specifically for this mission. They moved like water through cracks in a wall. By morning, they had placed explosives on every critical system. Mina pressed the button. The entire Kreth defense network went dark. Shields fell. Cannons stopped working. Communications died. The planet that had been unconquerable for 2,000 years was suddenly blind and deaf. And then the human fleet arrived. Admiral Park Tae led the attack personally. 300 human warships appeared from nowhere, using the full drive technology that no other species possessed. One moment, the space around Kreth Prime was empty. The next, it was filled with death. The Kreth scrambled to respond. But without their defense network, they were helpless. Human ships struck fast and hard, then disappeared before counterattacks could arrive. The Kreth had never faced an enemy like this. An enemy they could not see, could not predict, could not stop in 3 weeks. Humanity conquered Kreth Prime. Across the galaxy, species watched in shock. This was impossible. The Kreth Dominion was ancient and powerful. How could these young, weak humans defeat them so easily? The answer was simple. Humanity did not fight fair. While the Kreth prepared for traditional battle, humans studied them. Intelligence officer Hana CO spent months learning everything about Kreth society. Their weaknesses, their fears, their internal conflicts. She discovered that many Kreth commanders hated each other. She discovered that their supply lines were stretched thin. She discovered that their soldiers were brave but stupid. She used all of it. Hana began broadcasting captured Kreth communications across the galaxy. She showed the atrocities they had committed. She revealed the cruel words of Lord Thren, calling the murder of 40,000 civilians pest control. She exposed the truth about the Dominion to species that had feared them for centuries. The Kreth had always controlled information. Now they had lost that control. Pilot Jun Kim became a legend during these months. He flew a Phantom-class stealth fighter, a ship so advanced that it could slip through any defense system undetected. They called him the Reaper. In 6 months, he destroyed over 200 enemy ships single-handedly. But Jun Kim was not alone. Thousands of human pilots flew beside him. They struck Kreth convoys. They destroyed supply stations. They rescued prisoners from Kreth labor camps. Wherever the Kreth turned, humans were waiting. On the ground, Sergeant Hyenbeek led impossible assaults. He took a planet with only 500 soldiers by dropping them directly onto the enemy command center. He captured a fortress by climbing the walls at night while the defenders slept. He fought in 17 battles and never lost a single one. The Kreth did not understand. These humans were supposed to be weak. Their lives were short. Their bodies were fragile. How were they winning? The answer was something the Kreth had never considered. Humanity was not fighting for territory, or resources, or power. They were fighting for revenge. Every human soldier remembered the 40,000 who died on New Bizon. Every pilot remembered the laughter of the Galactic Council. Every commander remembered being called insects. Anger is a powerful fuel. 6 months after the war began, the human fleet arrived at Vareth Station. It was the Kreth's largest military base outside their home system. 4,000 warships defended it. The Kreth were confident. Finally, they thought, the humans had made a mistake. Finally, they had come to a real fight. The battle lasted 8 hours. When it was over, Vareth Station belonged to humanity. 3,000 Kreth ships were destroyed. The remaining 1,000 surrendered. Among the captured was Lord Thren himself, the commander who had ordered the attack on New BUSAN. Admiral Park Tae met Lord Thren in person. The Kreth commander was brought to him in chains. "You called us insects," Park Tae said quietly. "You murdered our people and called it a lesson. Do you still think we are insects?" Lord Thren stared at the human with hatred in his yellow eyes. "You have won nothing. The galaxy will destroy you. The Velori will do nothing," Park Tae interrupted. "They are too busy watching, too busy being afraid. Just like you should have been." He offered Lord Thren a choice. A public trial, broadcast across the galaxy, where all his crimes would be exposed. Or immediate execution, quiet and forgotten. Lord Thren chose the trial. He still believed the galaxy would support him. He still believed the Kreth were too important to fall. He was wrong. The trial was broadcast to every planet in the galaxy. Billions of beings watched as evidence of Kreth atrocities was presented. recordings of massacres, testimonies of survivors, proof of crimes that had been hidden for centuries. When it was over, even species that had feared the Kreth celebrated their defeat. On the Eternal Ring, High Arbiter Molvar watched everything. He was no longer laughing. For the first time in his long life, he felt something he had never felt before. Fear. He contacted Admiral Park Tay directly. The communication was private, but somehow a recording of it spread across the galaxy within hours. Hanasio's work, no doubt. Perhaps we underestimated you, Molvar said, trying to sound friendly. Let us discuss peace. Let us find a way to end this conflict before more lives are lost. Admiral Park Tay looked at the alien who had called him an insect 3 years ago. The alien who had laughed at humanity. The alien who had told them to return in 1,000 years. You had your chance to discuss, Park Tay replied. Now you will watch. He ended the communication. The war was far from over. The Kreth Dominion had fallen, but the Galactic Council remained. The Velori Empire remained. All those who had laughed and mocked and dismissed, humanity remained, and Admiral Park Tay remembered every single one of them. In the captured halls of Vera Station. Captain Li Wu found Dr. Yuna Kong reviewing data captured from Kreth computers. She had been recording everything since the war began, just as she had recorded the humiliation at the Eternal Ring. What are you looking for? Li Wu asked. Why you and I looked up. Her eyes were tired but determined. Everything. Every secret the Kreth kept. Every deal the Velori made. Every crime the Council ignored. The galaxy is built on lies and fear, Captain. I am going to expose all of it. Li Wu sat down beside her. And then what? Yuna returned to her work. And then we build something better. 1 year had passed since the war began. The Kreth Dominion no longer existed. Their empire, built over thousands of years, had fallen in 12 months. Lord Thren was executed after his trial. His commanders were scattered across human prison ships. His soldiers had surrendered by the millions. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. And now, humanity was not finished. High Arbiter Molvar called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. Representatives from every major species gathered on the Eternal Ring. The mood was different from 3 years ago. No one was laughing now. We must act together, Molvar declared. The humans have become a threat to galactic stability. If we do not stop them now, they will destroy everything we have built. Ambassador Nari Moon watched the meeting from a secret location. Humanity had spies everywhere now. She saw the fear on alien faces. She heard the panic in their voices. It was satisfying, but it was not enough. Hara had a different mission. While the major powers discussed war, she traveled to the forgotten corners of the galaxy. She visited species that had been conquered, exploited, and ignored. Species that the Council had treated almost as badly as they had treated humanity. And she offered them a choice. Join us, she said to the leaders of the Tyranni, a species of small insect-like beings who had been slaves to the Velori for 300 years. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We want to free it. Help us, and when this is over, you will be free. The Tyranni joined. So did the Veth, the Solurans, the Mirithi, the Krell, 7 species in total, each one angry, each one hungry for revenge, each one ready to fight alongside humanity. They called themselves the Dawn Accord. Meanwhile, scientist Jin O completed his greatest work, the resonance bomb, a weapon that could disable all technology within an entire solar system. Ships would become floating coffins. Defense systems would become useless metal. Planets would return to darkness. It is ready, Admiral, Jin O reported to Park Tay. But I must warn you, this weapon cannot distinguish between friend and enemy. If we use it, we must be certain. Park Tae looked at the plans. Keep it in reserve. I hope we never need it. But if we do, we will have it. Vice Admiral Sira Yoon commanded the Second Assault Fleet. She was Park Tae's best student, brilliant and ruthless. While he led the main force, she led smaller attacks across the galaxy, disrupting enemy communications, destroying supply lines, freeing prisoners. She received word that the Coalition was planning a massive attack on Earth. The Valori Empire had gathered 12 species to join their assault. Together, they had assembled a fleet of 4,000 warships. It was the largest military force the galaxy had seen in 1,000 years. They believed that if they struck Earth directly, humanity would fall. Sira Yoon reported to Admiral Park Tae immediately. They are coming, she said. 4,000 ships. They will arrive at Seoul in 6 days. Park Tae showed no surprise. He had expected this. Perhaps he had even wanted it. Pull all forces back to Seoul, he ordered. Every ship, every soldier. We will meet them at home. The galaxy watched as human fleets abandoned their conquered territories and returned to Earth. The Coalition celebrated. The humans were retreating. They were scared. Victory was certain. But engineer Borahan was not worried. For 3 years, she had been building something in secret. Not just ships. Not just weapons. Something much bigger. The Soul Array. Hidden throughout Earth's solar system were thousands of weapons platforms. Some were disguised as asteroids. Some floated invisibly in the darkness between planets. Some were buried on moons. All of them were connected. All of them were ready. The Coalition fleet arrived on the 6th day. 4,000 warships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. The Valori commander broadcast a message to Earth. Humans of Earth, your fleet is small. Your planet is defenseless. Surrender now, and we will be merciful. Resist, and you will be destroyed. You have 1 hour to respond. Admiral Park Tae's response came in 30 seconds. You are not welcome here. Leave now, or face the consequences. The Valori commander laughed. Old habits die hard, apparently. He ordered the fleet to advance. They made it halfway to Earth before the Soul Array activated dot weapons that had been sleeping for 3 years suddenly awoke. Energy beams sliced through Coalition ships like light through shadow. Missiles emerged from asteroids and struck without warning. Defense platforms that seemed like dead rock opened fire with devastating power. The Coalition fleet was caught in a trap. Everywhere they turned, death waited. Ships exploded by the dozens. Commanders screamed orders that no one could follow. Escape routes were blocked by more weapons. And then the human fleet arrived. Not from Earth, but from behind the Coalition. They had used the fold drive to circle around while the enemy advanced. 400 human ships attacked the Coalition's rear. They were outnumbered 10-1, but they fought with precision and fury. The Battle of Seoul lasted 8 hours. When it was over, 3,800 Coalition ships were destroyed. Only 200 escaped. The Valori commander was among the dead, his ship torn apart by weapons he had never even seen. The Soul Array went quiet. The human fleet gathered its wounded. Medical ships rescued survivors from both sides, because even enemies deserved mercy. But mercy was not the same as forgiveness. Admiral Park Tae broadcast a message across the galaxy. You came to our home. You threatened our families. You tried to destroy everything we love. Now look at your fleet. Look at your dead. Look at your failure. Remember this moment. Remember what happens when you threaten Earth. On the Eternal Ring, High Arbiter Molvar watched the broadcast. His purple skin had turned pale. His hands shook. His advisors stood in silence, too afraid to speak. He is coming, Molvar whispered. He is coming for us. He tried to run. He gathered his personal guard and his wealth and fled in his private ship. He flew to the far corners of the galaxy, hiding among lesser species. Hoping the humans would forget about him, they did not forget. Lieutenant Minacho found him hiding in a cargo hold on a merchant vessel near the galaxy's edge. He had disguised himself as a common trader. He had shaved his head and covered his distinctive skin with paint. But the Ghost Division was very good at finding people who did not want to be found. They brought him back in chains. 1 week later, the human fleet arrived at the Eternal Ring, the same station where they had been humiliated 4 years ago. The same station where they had been called insects. The same station where Molvar had laughed at them. 41 species surrendered immediately. The Galactic Council voted to dissolve itself. They offered humanity anything it wanted: territory, resources, power. Just please. They begged, "Please do not destroy us." Admiral Park Tay stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the Eternal Ring on the view screen. Captain Li Wu and Dr. Yuna Kong stood beside him. "They asked us to return when we had evolved enough to matter," Park Tay said quietly. "Tell them we are back." He ordered the communication channels opened. "People of the Galactic Council," he began. 4 years ago, I came here as a guest. I came offering peace and friendship. You laughed at me. You called me an insect. You told me to return in 1,000 years. He paused, letting the words sink in. I have returned early, and I have brought humanity with me. Now you will listen. Now you will understand. We are not insects. We are humanity. And we do not forget. The channel closed. The fleet waited. The galaxy trembled. The Eternal Ring surrendered without firing a single shot. After watching the destruction of the Coalition fleet at Sol, no one wanted to be next. The station that had ruled the galaxy for 12,000 years opened its doors to humanity. Admiral Park Tay walked through the same hallways he had walked 4 years ago. The same white stone, the same silver metal, the same seats rising like a stadium around the central platform. But everything else was different. The aliens who had once laughed now stood in terrified silence. The species who had mocked humanity now bowed their heads. The great powers that had dismissed Earth as a planet of insects now waited to hear their fate. Arbiter Molvar was brought before the assembly in chains. His purple skin was dirty. His golden crown was gone. He looked like a frightened old man, not the powerful ruler who had insulted humanity. Admiral Park Tay stood on the platform where he had once begged for membership in the council. Now he stood there as a conqueror, the most powerful being in the galaxy. The assembly waited. They expected what every conquered species expected: death, slavery, destruction. This was how the strong had treated the weak for 12,000 years. This was how the Valori had treated others. This was how the Kreth had treated others. Surely, this was how the humans would treat them. They were wrong. I have spent 4 years thinking about this moment, Park Tay said. His voice was calm. I have imagined what I would do, what I would say, how I would make you pay for every laugh, every insult, every murdered colonist. Molvar closed his eyes, waiting for death. And I have decided, Park Tay continued, that we are better than you. The assembly went silent. Not understanding. Dr. Yuna Kong stepped forward. She had been waiting for this moment even longer than the Admiral. The Galactic Council was built on power, she said. The strong ruled the weak. The old crushed the new. Species were judged not by their worth, but by their weapons. This ends now. She activated a display that showed a new symbol, a circle of stars surrounding a single point of light. We are creating something new. The United Galactic Assembly. Every species will have equal voice. Every planet will have equal worth. Power will come not from strength alone, but from wisdom, from contribution, from the consent of all. Whispers spread through the crowd. This was impossible. This was not how empires worked. Surely the humans were lying. Admiral Park Tae raised his hand, and the assembly fell silent. "We did not fight this war to become what we hated," he said. "We fought because we refused to accept a universe where cruelty wins, where the strong mock the weak, where entire species are dismissed as insects." He looked directly at Molvar. "We remember every slight, but we choose to forgive those who earn it." The assembly erupted in confusion. Some cheered. Some cried. Some sat in stunned disbelief. After thousands of years of rule by fear, they could not understand rule by anything else. Over the following months, the new order took shape. War criminals were tried fairly. Those who had committed atrocities were punished. Those who had simply followed orders were offered a chance to rebuild. Ambassador Narimun worked tirelessly to help conquered species recover their independence. The Tarani returned to their homeworld as free people for the first time in 3 centuries. The Dawn Accord expanded. Species that had feared humanity now joined willingly, seeing that human promises were real. The galaxy began to heal. Not everyone was happy. Some Velori refused to accept the new order. They formed resistance groups, attacked human patrols, tried to rebuild their empire in the shadows. General Shinde and the military dealt with them quickly but fairly. Those who surrendered were imprisoned. Those who fought were defeated. There was no genocide, no mass punishment, no revenge. This confused the galaxy most of all. Scientist Jin O dismantled the resonance bomb. He hoped no one would ever need to build another one. Engineer Borahan turned her talents from weapons to rebuilding. She designed new ships that carried medicine instead of missiles. She created technologies that helped damaged worlds recover. Lieutenant Mina Cho was offered command of the entire Ghost Division, expanded to 5,000 soldiers. She accepted, but gave her soldiers a new mission. They no longer just fought. They now protected. They rescued prisoners. They stopped pirate attacks. They hunted down war criminals who tried to hide. One day, High Arbiter Molvar was brought to speak with Admiral Park Tae privately. The former ruler had been kept in comfortable imprisonment, waiting for his fate to be decided. He expected death. He had expected it every day for months. Instead, Park Tae offered him tea. "Why?" Molvar asked, his voice broken. "Why do you not destroy us? You have the power. You have the right. We laughed at you. We called you insects. We told you to come back in 1,000 years. You could have killed every Velori in the galaxy, and no one would have stopped you." Park Tae set down his cup. He was quiet for a long moment. "When I returned from this station 4 years ago," he said, "I was filled with hatred. I wanted revenge. I wanted you to suffer. I wanted to make you feel small, the way you made us feel." He looked out the window at the stars. "But then I realized something. If I destroyed you, I would become you. If I ruled through fear, I would be no different than the Velori. I would prove that we were insects, angry and small and cruel." He turned back to Molvar. "We are not insects. We are humanity. And humanity has a choice that you never understood. We can choose mercy. We can choose to build instead of destroy. We can choose to be better than our anger." Molvar stared at him. Tears streamed down his blue face. "I do not understand you," he whispered. "I have lived for 300 years, and I do not understand you." Park Tae smiled sadly. "Perhaps that is why you lost." The United Galactic Assembly met for the first time 1 year after the war ended. Representatives from every species in the galaxy gathered on the rebuilt Eternal Ring. Dr. Yuna Kong, was chosen to give the opening address. She stood where Mulver had once stood, but she did not look down on the assembly. She looked at them as equals. "We did not fight because we wanted power," she said. "We fought because we refused to accept a universe where cruelty is rewarded and the weak are mocked. We are humanity. We remember every slight, and we forgive those who earn it." She paused, letting her words reach every corner of the galaxy. "Today, we begin something new. Not an empire. Not a council of the strong. A true assembly of equals, where every voice matters, where no species is an insect, where we build instead of destroy." The assembly rose in applause. Not from fear, from hope. 100 years later, a young Valori student named Kira traveled to New Bizan. The colony had been rebuilt long ago. Gardens grew where bombs had fallen. Children played where soldiers had died. Life had returned. In the center of the city stood a memorial. It was simple. A wall of stone with names carved into it. 40,000 names. The people who had died in the attack that started the war. At the base of the memorial was an inscription. Kira read it slowly, trying to understand. They laughed because they saw what we were. They fell silent because they saw what we could become. May this galaxy never forget. Humanity does not seek war, but we finish them. An old human woman sat on a bench nearby. She watched Kira read the inscription. "You are Valori," the woman said. It was not an accusation, just an observation. "Yes," Kira replied. She was nervous. Old wounds still existed, even after a century. "My great-grandmother was a commander in the coalition. She fought against your people." The woman nodded slowly. "My grandfather was on New Bizan when it was attacked. He survived because he hid under his mother's body. He was 4 years old." Kira did not know what to say. She wanted to apologize, but the words seemed too small. The woman stood up and walked to her. She was old, but her eyes were sharp. "Do you know why we did not destroy the Valori?" she asked. Kira shook her head. "Because anyone can conquer," the woman said. "Only the strong can choose not to." She touched Kira's hand gently. "Go home. Live a good life. Remember what happened here, and make sure it never happens again. That is all we ever wanted." Kira watched the woman walk away. Then she looked back at the memorial. 40,000 names. 40,000 lives. The spark that lit a fire that changed the galaxy. She understood now. Humanity had not won because they were stronger. They had won because they knew what strength truly meant. The galaxy has known peace ever since. And they never laugh at the young species anymore.